This week, episode 297 of Stogie Geeks. You might want to pay attention to this episode. You'll be able to log on and enter to win a Diamond Crown Humidor giveaway. So I will repeat that. You might want to pay attention to this episode because we're giving away a Diamond Crown Humidor. We can register to win. I'll take you through the steps for that with our sponsor, JC Newman, for Diamond Crown. And also, we interview Tim Wong of AJ Fernandez-Cigars. He handles cigars on the West Coast over there. So we're going to get a West Coast take. So I guess I'm the Lone Ranger, your host, Joe Hozempa. East Coast versus West Coast, right here on this edition, episode 297 of the Stogie Geeks.
This is a Security Weekly production. Broadcasting live from G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island, it's the show where cigars burn slow, ashes fall fast, and cocktails flow steady. It's the Stogie Geek Show. Welcome, everyone, to the Stogie Geek Show. Joe and I are already silly.
Oh, yeah.
Joe Hozempa, a.k.a. Joe Hollywood, is here with me in studio.
I'm fired up.
And
Confidence. Confidence isn't walking into a room with your nose in the air, thinking you're better than anyone else. It's walking into a room and not having to compare yourself to anyone in the first place.
Havana Cigar Club, located in Warwick, Rhode Island, is a great place to enjoy a drink and a cigar. Stogie Geeks listeners can find a $5 off coupon on our website by clicking the HCC logo.
Welcome to episode 297 of Stogie Geeks. I'm your host, the Lone Ranger, Joe Hozempa. Thank you for tuning in. It's episode 297, so if you want to follow show notes as to who we're interviewing and what's going on, all you have to do is go to stogiegeeks.com/297. And away you go with the show notes. We have the opportunity to interview Tim Wong, who is no stranger to the cigar business. He will also make an appearance on another Stogie Geeks episode that's coming soon on another project that he is responsible for. But for right now, we are going to talk AJ Fernandez and how things are done on the West Coast. Tim, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Joe. I have a question for you. How does a guy with the nickname of Hollywood end up in Rhode Island?
I'm not too sure how that all came about. The first couple of episodes when I was the co-host of Stogie Geeks, Paul Azadorian started calling me Joe Hollywood, and it's starting to stick, actually. Because January 25th was my birthday, and I actually got a flask that holds cigars, and it has JH on it, which happens to be my initials, but it also says Joe Hollywood. So I guess it's finally starting to stick since January 2nd of 2017. I don't know, maybe Paul thinks I'm kind of flashy or something. I don't know. I'm not too sure. We've never really had an opportunity to really define how it happened, but it just happened. I figured that there would be worse things that they can call me, so that's the way that went. You're the first person who has actually asked me that in 2 years, so you know.
I just thought it was funny being a California kid. So, but if you ever want to come out here and visit your namesake area, you've got a place to stay, and we've got cigars to smoke here. So.
Are there a lot of Italians on the West Coast?
There are. So I'm a San Francisco kid, born and raised in when I lived there, and my family's still there. I lived in North Beach, which is Little Italy for San Francisco. So
oh, cool.
Strong community there. There's a strong community here in Southern California as well. I'm coming to you from Orange County, California.
Yeah. So my family travels to Hilton Head, which is late. Mm-hmm. It's every year, and we go. And they're like, "You should go to Myrtle Beach." I'm like, "Myrtle Beach is way too Italian for me." Like way, it's like way. It is like, you know, believe it or not, I've never saw an episode of The Sopranos ever. I finally watched The Godfather in 2017. Like I've never like
wow.
grew up with that stuff. And I mean, my middle name is Alando, and I have cousins named Gino and stuff like that. So we are Italian, but
Right.
yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those. It's just kind of one of those things where I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to Myrtle Beach. Like that's just too, And then to be perfectly candid with you, I think I don't know the year, maybe 2002 or 2001. When that Jersey Shore show came on board and got, I was like, these kids, like, this is like a day in life, like, you know what I mean? Like, well, why didn't I think of this? Because I got pretty good hair, and I used to go to the gym a lot and stuff like that, but I don't know. I guess that's that. So here I am on Stogie Geeks having a grand old time. I get to have coffee and Lagavulins and try out cigars and talk to various people within the industry. And it's a slow and steady stream of income. So guess what? I think I got the better end of the stick than Jersey Shore. Who knows?
Well, I can commiserate with you being Chinese American and living in San Francisco. When everybody came out, it's like, hey, you're gonna give me the tour of Chinatown, take me through, and it's just like, oh goodness.
Oh yeah, you get people, you know what I mean, and then people find it amazing. I'm like, yeah, I've had the Soprano cigars from CAO. They're actually very good. I'm like, but I've never seen an episode. I was like, what's up with the cat? They're like, you've never? I'm like, no, I never did, and I have no. And it's not like I'm like anti any type. I don't really watch a ton of TV. In general, right? I can't, if I watch an hour of TV a day, it's probably because I'm with my newborn son and it's usually either I Love Lucy or Mickey's Playhouse, quite frankly. So he actually sits through episodes of I Love Lucy, which I think is awesome because, and Gunsmoke as well, but he likes I Love Lucy better, which I think is cool,
So Mickey's Playhouse for you and I Love Lucy for your newborn.
Probably, yeah. I just, it's just kind of crazy, It's my first son, and it's just my whole world's been kind of crazy over the past year and a half. Even though he's going to be 6 months on March 7th, but it's just been crazy. It's awesome. I'm enjoying fatherhood.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's cool. I tell people like the development is just out of control. Like to see. A child develop, and I love like right now.
In 6 months, I'm sure you've seen all kinds of growth and improvement.
Oh yeah, for sure. But like it's amazing how he's past couple months been sitting in front of the TV and we read to him and he starts to play his version of play. You know what I mean? And it's just wild to see how like it kind of takes me back like on a Saturday morning when I used to play with my little figure, the things and whatnot. It's just amazing to watch, But anyway, this is what?
I remember Saturday morning, Scooby-Doo in a bowl of cereal. We were happy about it.
Right? I mean, I remember when I was little, my mom used to put it like in Tupperware so she can stay in bed a little bit longer. Just get the thing, make yourself and do that, or she would go on the couch and be sleeping. I'd be eating the cereal or whatever the heck she gave me, and it's crazy. But anyway, this is the Stogie Geeks and not family, but it's great. I do get a lot of email at joeh@stogiegeeks.com. A lot of Stogie Geeks listeners were like, congratulations on being a dad. Here's pictures of my kid. Here's what my kid's into. Good luck with this. Some of them just had kids, so like they're younger, and they're like asking me advice, and I'm like, just trust your stuff, man. It's like boxing. You just got to trust your stuff and just pay attention to your environment and watch out for the punches because the kid will come from any angle. Temperatures spike and mood swings go everywhere, and it's kind of crazy. But yeah, it's a good time. It really is a good time. I'm just enjoying every minute of it for sure.
Cool.
For sure. So I want to talk to you about AJ Fernandez. Is a couple. AJ Fernandez is one of those brands that when I have a chance to talk to shop owners or patrons, always comes up, right? Have you tried the new AJ Fernandez? Whatever. Or this got this rating. What do you think of this cigar? Shop owners love AJ Fernandez. Patrons flock to AJ Fernandez. I brought you on here today so you can kind of give us a little bit more insight of the company, AJ Fernandez, what it entails, and then also kind of your roles and responsibilities. And then if you could stab into, because you are geographically located, and it's good morning to you, sir, on the West Coast, kind of give us a kind of flavor of how cigar events or how the industry is on the West Coast, and then, if it's any slightly different, I'll butt in with some of the East Coast comments.
Sure. Okay. So, anybody who smoked AJ Fernandez knows that, as a company, we're very, very popular at the moment, like you were saying. And it's a tribute to AJ himself because, he's put together a phenomenal company in a very short period of time. In about 10 or 12 years, he's got one of the biggest factories, two actually, in Esteli, Nicaragua, and Ocotal. We are sort of a very popular contract manufacturing company. So you see AJ making cigars for a lot of big companies, small companies, as well as making cigars for himself. So, he is a phenomenal, farmer. I mean, tobacco production, we have some of the best tobaccos on the planet. He's growing some. He's very, maniacal when it comes to that. He's a very, master blender. He's put together, how many hundreds of blends that we have for different companies. So we've got everything, from mild to full bodied and wide range of flavors. So we have a cigar for everybody, out there, whether you like mild, medium, strong, Maduro, Habano, Connecticut. We work with all tobaccos, and he strives. He has a commitment to the consumer as well. If you notice, most cigars are very reasonable. They carry a price point, excluding taxes of under $10. So he's very cognizant of trying to deliver the best product he can to every consumer in the marketplace. And it's been, you have to give him credit. He's been wildly successful at it. And we're very lucky because we get to enjoy the fruits of his labor.
Yeah, absolutely. And it seems, categorically he's coming up with, or the company is producing new blends. What I like is they're not waiting for the traditional IPCPR release. They're kind of, spilled out throughout the calendar year. I'm not paying attention too much as to, which quarter that they come out to, but it's like they always seem to have something new. They always seem to keep the consumer loyal and intrigued and attached to the brand, so that when they walk into a retail humidor or a retail shop, it's at least got that top of mind awareness, so that AJ Fernandez can play within the cigar patrons rotation, and I think that's important, because other times with some of the small batch stuff and stuff like that, it just they kind of like push it, and then they disappear for like 9 months. Whereas opposed AJ seems like every, at least here in the Northeast, it's about in every 45 to maybe 50, 60-day cadence that there's new and exciting news and updates coming from the either the factory or the company.
Yeah, well, this is where I think AJ has an advantage over a lot of different manufacturers, is that even though we are a pretty large operation, we've been able to build a good library of tobaccos. So, we can plan for IPCPR and bring out certain cigars then. But he also, you're constantly blending, constantly developing things and relationships. And if something comes up and he thinks it's good and he wants to bring it to marketplace sooner rather than later, we have the ability to do that as well. So, he can deliver something, at any time of the year when he wants to, but we also have stuff that, will be set up and more properly launched at IPCPR. It's a great place to be because, we can work like a boutique, but we also have a large production facility behind us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, are there different divisions within AJ, and because sometimes the consumers kind of just lump it all together, but they have a couple of different focuses. Can you kind of take us through that?
So it's not really divisions, but there are basically three different parts to the company, right? Obviously, the factory is AJ Fernandez. We grow tobacco, we cultivate tobacco, and then we make cigars in the factory. But there are two different clienteles. Number one was that you heard me say contract manufacturing. So AJ, that's how he started actually. Before even AJ Fernandez US, his own brand launched, he was making cigars for other people. Primarily, he started with Cigars International, but now we make cigars for several entities, Altus, General Cigars. So you see an AJ's Jorge de Monterrey, an AJ Romeo, AJ Monte Cristo. Those are brands owned by other companies, but AJ makes. We also do it for much smaller companies as well. I work for Espinosa, so some of our cigars are made in AJ's factory, 601, the Murcielago, Southern Draw, which some of your fans may smoke. Some of that stuff is also made. So he makes, for a wide range of companies. But those are cigars that he makes exclusively for those companies. And then we have our own brands, which is we call AJ Fernandez USA. That's the San Lotano, Bellas Artes, New World, the brands that that are exclusively sold by us. So basically, there are kind of like three different parts to what we're doing as primary business.
Yeah. How'd you get started with AJ, and take us through your cigar journey?
So, I started smoking really seriously in college, which is about 94, 95. So I've got, it's not the longest time, but 20 plus years smoking cigars. And as I was getting into it, at that time there was no social media. I was, going on bulletin boards. I was meeting guys, and that's how I started getting into it more and more. I started communicating with a few other people, places like Cigar Weekly, Herfer's Paradise. And I was a big fan of Toronto cigars back then. So I was actually, I met the family. I met Frank Santos, who you've talked to. He was the gentleman that actually got me into the cigar business. I met with him, and I was in marketing communications for technology companies back then. So we would actually trade secrets, and he would give me cigars for like, how do I do a guerrilla marketing campaign? How do I, maybe apply some of the things you're doing marketing-wise to cigars? And that sort of led into meeting. They invited me out to a big smoke. I met Charlie and Carlos Carano. And we started talking, and we just vibed. And they were like, a lot about cigars. You'd be interested in working for us. And this was 2004. And at that time, the bubble had burst a little bit. I was working on contracts. I was like, you know what? Let me give this a shot. I don't consider myself a salesman. I do what I do, like what I'm just talking to you with the cigar shop owners, and I had a need with discussing cigars. So I took that job, and 15, 16 years later, here I am.
Yeah.
They were there, and that's where I started. And then, like I said, I've worked for several companies. In my time, I've started with Toronto. I worked for Ernesto Padilla for a little bit. I've worked for Rocky Patel, General Cigars, and then now I'm brokering stuff with AJ, with Espinosa and Elysium, and I also I'm making my own cigar called Pier 28. That's the reason why I kind of left General, was to kind of get an opportunity to do some blending and try and be a cigar maker, because that's sort of how the dream developed. You wanted to come up with something that's your own, and that's how I got here. So I'm very blessed. I've worked for small, medium, large companies. I like to think that I've been able to take best practices from all those companies to develop my own stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. That you've got a good a progressive resume that allowed you to even develop your own blend, as opposed to just stay within a territory and pump out cigars and do that. And there's nothing wrong with that for the reps that are out there on the road. I mean, I don't want to take anything away from them. I mean, they are the true brand ambassadors out there that are educating, especially when it comes to the small batch stuff there. And it's funny because AJ comes up in one of those conversations of, oh, well, if it's Drew Estate, or if it's AJ Fernandez, or if it's General, the rep doesn't have to work hard. Those are, they walk into the shop and take orders. It's like, no, you don't understand. Like the boom from the late '90s, right, to the early 2000s is different, right? I had the opportunity to own a cigar shop during the boom here in the Providence Metro that actually turned into another cigar shop, which is still open now. And it's different, and how the reps were then and how the reps were now is different in regards to sometimes when a rep walks into the door, the consumers already know a little bit about the company because of social media, right? And that could be a good thing or a bad thing. So sometimes it turns into, I'd love to try your cigar. Why did it take you so long to get here? There's only so many times you could travel and then do that. Or it turns into, I really haven't heard much, and then yet you put out all these social media efforts. So take us through kind of that transition for you as the years progressed. some of the strong points, some of the negative points, or some of the not so strong points, how that changed, and then also how it gets into the culture of that, because I can only speak on how events are up and down the East Coast. I've been down the East Coast. Rarely make it to the other side of the country at all. So, take us kind of through some of that.
So I think you made a couple of very good points when in the question you were asking. And when I started, 16 years ago, it was a much different marketing idea. And essentially, I still believe in this, but the number one marketing tool they have is to go smoke with the consumers, right? You want them to get your opinion, get them more information, and give them that personal touch. And so, you spend a lot of your time not just in a sales call talking to the owner of the place and trying to sell cigars, but you also want to talk to the sales two parts. Because you want to make a sale and sell the cigars to the owners, but you also want to see that product so that the guys who come to the shop will look for the cigar, smoke the cigar, and have a feel for it ahead of time. And pre-social media, that was kind of the human touch was the best way to do that. And I still believe in that, but social media now has changed a little bit because guys have, now more than ever, you have access to information. And there are a lot of times when consumers and shopkeep owners know about cigars before I do because of social media.
Sure, yeah,
that happens a lot. So it's good because now you have a plethora of information, but what makes it the experience and makes the guy want to smoke it is still coming in and saying, hey, what do you think of it? What are your thoughts on it? And that human touch is just like almost like a cherry on top of having information that, you have a complete story on the cigar. More than just when I come for a visit, you have access to it. There's, guys will maybe even try it before, I get there because, there's only so many stores you can visit in a day. So, it drives a desire for somebody to want to try new stuff, which is good for us, and like I said, people know more and you get more and more geeks, they want to know information about blends. There are other guys who want to know more about how just our taste, but, an informed smoker, a more educated palate is always good for us because then, you're able to kind of get into a deeper conversation with it if they want it, and if not, you keep it kind of topical. Again, social media has become a very good tool for us. The only downside I ever see with that is that, now more than ever, it's a short attention span theater, right? People want to know what's next and new. So a lot of good cigars, get a shorter run than you should. So I encourage people that if you like something, continue to smoke that cigar, because if you're always going and seeing new things and trying new things, which is great, sometimes good blends get lost in the process.
Yeah, I've noticed that too, where the brand loyalty is not as strong there, and I've also noticed that I'm trying desperately not to use the boutique cigars, right? I'm trying to use small batch. That's like a personal New Year's resolution for me here on this show. But I remember owning a shop when the small batch or the boutiques were the cheaper prices, right, for the consumer. Sure. And then the regular classic facings were your kind of higher end go-to sticks and whatnot. And even that's changed for sure, obviously, when it comes to cigar price point. But it's also changed to like with the small batch stuff, if that rep is not in that shop, and it says it's not even like that state, that shop, it becomes incredibly daunting company-wise if you have to check in with, the higher-ups and say, well, year-over-year growth or whatever personal goals that they set for a territory, where they say, well, it's going down. And it's going down not because of the number of smokers is going down, right? It's going down because the amount of people entering in the barrier to entry into the humidor fighting for that space is going down. So you have that going on as well, which I think AJ does a great job trying to bring in something new. But I very rarely walk into a shop and see San Lotano's still there. It's what else has AJ created to bring that in and again. And so it's got to be incredibly challenging, especially for you, representing a 12-year company, to where, you get lumped up in that consumer behavioral wave, even though you've been around for a while and you have a great track record with producing some great smokes. Consumer behavior, they might be on you for 3 weeks and they're gone.
Sure.
you know, and social media is a huge factor for that, you know?
So, you know, I kind of reps, you know, I'm kind of coming to me with the younger guys or the newer guys, and they'll ask me, you know, questions and certain things. And you know, I believe this to be absolutely true. You know, you just got to be able to read the room. That's number one. It sounds simple, but it's not. Right? So you get a feeling for what that humidor is going to be. That is our number one problem as a sales rep. You know, you're fighting for shelf space.
Yeah.
You know, there's only a limited number. You mentioned it, and it's absolutely true. So if you know what the philosophy of the owner is, what he likes to smoke, what is, you know, is he one of those guys that is, you know, likes to dabble a little bit of everything? Is he small batch focused? Is he big brand focused? You know, that enables you to kind of at least go in there with a plan to figure out how you're going to do, because, you know, a company like AJ's can be represented in many different ways. You know, we do have, you know, what we would call a small batch or a boutique style blends. You know, we have Ramona Jonas, which is, you know, on top of the line, but it's also, you know, relatively limited in terms of our portfolio. Or you can go with the workhorse cigars of guys, you know, if their audience is somebody who's looking for, you know, solid under $10 cigars. You know, our best selling cigars, New World. We sell a ton of it in New World Oscuro, and that fits that particular market space. So you have to gear the product for that, because you can win shelf space if you can fit the needs of that particular shop, instead of just trying to go and say, well, I have this cigar, I think you need it. You know, make it so that this is going to be a because it's a partnership. A good rep has basically two things. You know, your reputation and your book of business. And so that's how you build that thing, is that you're tailoring it, you're thinking about what that shop needs, you're trying to figure out how you can fit that product to fit, you know, be successful in selling it, because that's the, you know, the ultimate goal, is to be able to sell cigars. Right?
Yeah.
You know, as much as it's artisan, as much as craft, we talk about that kind of thing, and we geek out about it. At the end of the day, you still need to sell that cigar. So that's kind of how you walk in there and try to figure out how you can best fit that situation. And again, if you can, that's what I mentioned earlier, the human touch is great, because you can get the consumer smoking it and they're into it. They are going to build a bond to that brand. And, you know, at this stage and age, you can't, you know, the one man, one cigar, you know, your grandfather's age or your dad's age, where the guy smoked the same cigar, you know, his entire life, doesn't happen anymore. Guys have rotations. So, you know, you smoke 6, 10 different things are your go-tos. And so, you know, kind of my goal as a rep is to get one cigar of mine into that rotation. So they're smoking it once or twice a week. That's great. That's what I'm looking for. Because you can't have the expectation that people are going to smoke one brand only. They'll have a favorite, and could be 70, 80% of what they smoke, but they smoke, you know, a lot of things, and we have a lot of choices. So the goal is to get into that rotation. So yeah, you know, once or twice a week they're smoking AJ, once or twice a week they're smoking Espinosa, whatever it is you've got, they're continually smoking it as part of the rotation.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's not just a cigar industry consumer. I host a business development show as well, and it's not only the cigar industry that faces that type of consumer behavior as well. It's just the way things are done now. I mean, you know, even if you take, you know, you take your small mom and pop shop or brick and mortar type shop, either in or out of the cigar industry, and they don't want to go online, and they say, oh, you know, well, we're not Amazon, or we're not. It's like, listen, like, you know, if you're doing the math and following trends, I mean, Best Buy created a whole strategy to their version to compete with online giant X, right? And their stock is going up, and they're doing a pretty reputable job with, I don't know, customer service. I mean, shit, to start there, right? How many times you walk into a shop and, you know, it's dirty, it's dungy, you can spell your name in the chairs. It's like, dude, like, seriously, you pass the sweep over here, bro. You'll be all set, you know? But, you know, I don't want to go off on a tangent with that, but, you know, it's like one of those things where, you know, the industry, it's not just the cigar industry. There are other industries that are facing the decision to go online to not, and stuff like that. Just like the shop owner has to face the decision for his or her shop to say, hey, you know, we're going to carry not all of this line, but we're going to carry some and then push it through and whatnot. But I think it's great that AJ Fernandez does a great job at keeping the head of the cusp and always trying to come up with something, or I wouldn't say come up with something new, always introducing another solution, a cigar, right? Another solution for the client to build that top of mind awareness, which does create brand loyalty. Definitely.
So one of the things you were asking about is one of the differences between East Coast and West Coast. So California, particularly, we are one of the highest tobacco tax states in the country. And so what the retailers have had to do is adapt the way their shops are run now. We are no longer a box, buying industry in California because with online sales, when things, guys have a lot of options as to where they can buy those cigars if price is the number one object. So now what shops have become is almost like a candy store. You go in there, you taste what you like, and so the smart retailers have adapted. They've built, nicer lounges to keep guys there and then try stuff. And you and I both know that the best camaraderie you get when you walk into a cigar lounge, because you can buy a box of cigars anywhere, but if you buy it online, what are you going to do? Smoke in your backyard by yourself or invite a couple of friends over? So
right.
That's what they think. They're selling more atmosphere. They're selling a chance to try different things. So again, that helped a little bit because now they're expanding. A lot of retailers are expanding their shelves to carry other things a little more exotic that maybe it's not so readily available online. So that you can come in, smoke one or two, and that's the good consumers I've seen have come to an understanding that you need to support both your brick and mortar and the online businesses because that's our industry right now a little bit. If you're going to want to keep cigars alive, you've got to try and spend your cigar budget, as evenly as possible because you get different experiences from the different channels to buy cigars from. Mm-hmm. So, now, like I said, most shops are you come in, you buy two or three, you try things you want to try, you smoke for a period later, hang out with your friends, you smoke your rotation stuff. That's sort of how it's been, versus doing the box sale. You want that guy to come in 3 times a week, smoke 3 cigars, and that's how you're going to do the box.
Right. No. What's the tax rate? Do you know that off the top of your head over there?
That's 62.7% of wholesale.
Whew.
So, and that just changed in July of 2017.
Okay, so
we have an archaic system where it's tied to the cigarette tax. So the cigarette tax goes up, and then the OTP actually goes up as well. So we actually had for the longest time, California was surprisingly the cheapest, one of the cheapest taxes for cigarettes in the country, 87 cents. Mm-hmm. July 1, 2017, it goes up to 2016 actually, it goes up to $2.87 a pack, which in turn changed our tax from 28% to now to 52%. So it's a difficult proposition sometimes for retailers because we're $3, $4, $5 more than you can buy a cigar online or someplace else.
Yeah.
So consumers have to understand that, and that it's not the retailer, it's the state, and that what you're paying for now is the experience and the ability to smoke inside a shop and enjoy the camaraderie that comes with it. Right.
Now, just to recap how it's done here, right? Because it's a very great educational discussion. You had your cigar tax rise because cigar was bundled under OTB, which for those Stogie Geeks who are listening on audio, and might not understand my accent, OTB, that's other tobacco products, right? And so what happens is they were taxed then accordingly. So cigarette went up by a percentage, so then the cigars went up by a percentage. Here in Rhode Island and in Connecticut, it's slightly different. Massachusetts, which are all bordering states towards us, Massachusetts is 42%. There you go. Okay, right? Connecticut, we're not going to get into the cigarette, but how it's in with Rhode Island is cigars are an addendum to OTB, other tobacco products. Cigarettes went up from 2017, 2018 for $4.25 a pack to $4.50, right? So $4.50 is the proposed tax that they're trying to go through. Here in Rhode Island, if the cigar is above $1.97, which obviously most premium tobacco is priced over $1.97, has a 50-cent cap tax.
Yeah.
Right? So it has
Oregon, there's a cap.
Yep. So it has a 50% cap tax. Now, again, cigarette, it's even though it's still bundled as smoking products, they just they make very line differentials as to what the proposed tax is. They want to go from $4.25 currently to $4.50, and then they want to go from 50-cent cap to 80-cent cap here, there, and then whatnot. And then obviously something new, because the whole FDA and how it's said, is the vape products, which here in Rhode Island, it's still under OTB, other tobacco products, right? But the vape currently is only sales tax in Rhode Island.
So they have no tobacco tax.
There's no tobacco tax, because the argument is that, and we've actually went to the hearing and testified. All the different shop owners went and stuff like that. And I won't bore you with the politics, but it's it was kind of a little bit useless anyway, right? So, but what happens is the vapes were like say, oh, it's helped because now like coming soon, their industry is going to be under attack, just like Oz is, and then going up and then up. And it sounds like, they just wanted to tax, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, and then firearms they want to tax and ban, and stuff like that because of all the happenings of what's going on in this crazy world of Oz. But, it's just very, you're right. Like even here, even with the 50%, even with the 50-cent cap tax, Rhode Island, Northeast, other than it starts to fade up in New Hampshire, west, upstate New York, that way, right, away from New York City, upstate New York, it starts to fade. They're still in a box culture, right? Because because of the way it's priced and whatnot. So their events are very slightly different. But in Rhode Island, we're in the same boat as you in regards to it's hardly, whenever there's an event at a retail cigar shop, it's hardly box sales.
Right.
I mean,
you're absolutely right. I mean, when I first started a great event, you'd sell 30, 40, 50 boxes.
Right.
And even events, that's the one place where in California we do sell a lot of boxes at events because you can make the price a little bit closer by giving swag and t-shirts, hats, things that you can't get necessarily if you buy them, online and things like that. So that's how you kind of balance. But the net from the conversation is that California is it's the only state in the union where the OTP is tied to the cigarette tax. So we've been trying to get it split for years because they should be separate taxes.
Sure.
That would give us a chance to get a cap. A cap would be a great thing. And I think, there's proof. You look at Oregon, you look at your state, any place with a cap, they get more tax revenue because people will actually keep the money local. A reasonable tax equals, reasonable sales, but that's not how our legislators look at it. So,
yeah.
But that's the case is that, if the events now are sort of when the box sales actually happen.
Yeah. In my consulting business, I have a couple of Massachusetts retailers within the cigar industry, and they've been trying to get that cap for a good 3 years that I know of. Is that on the docket for whoever's dealing with your legislation to try to make that distinction?
So the answer is yes, we've been trying, but the way that I don't want to get too deep into politics, but the way the law is written in California, in order for us to change the way the tax is collected, they need to get 4/5 agreement from our state legislature to do that. And you can put all of our legislators in a room today, ask them what day of the week it is, and 80% of them will tell you Friday. Right?
Yeah.
So that's the hard part. It's going through the political part of it to get it done.
Yeah. It's so right. I gotcha. Yeah. And so take us through like an event. So what do you do for the creativity to kind of counteract that? Because we have some things that we do here in Rhode Island I could share with you if they're different from what you tell me. But how do you deal with it? How do you deal with it day in and day out? Because if you schedule an event and you want to do that, even though AJ is priced great, but how do you kind of counteract that?
Yeah, is how to make events interesting because every manufacturer's out there doing events, and there's always usually a standard deal and things. So, we try and figure out things that can make a little more interesting, little things you don't necessarily see all the time, right? So, for instance, sometimes I've done events with a cigar roller. That's something that is not as usual. Sometimes you offer a big prize. If you order enough, it's a big event. Maybe we raffle off trips to Nicaragua to the factories because both AJ and a lot of guys will have tours of their factories, and it's always a fun thing. I recommend any of you out there if you've never had a chance to go down to Nicaragua, Dominican, or Honduras, if you have that opportunity, take it because once you see how the stuff, cigars are made and the process, you'll never complain about how much you pay for a cigar again. It is a laborious, long-term project, and it's a labor of love in a lot of instances. So, you sometimes if a retailer wants to make it big, maybe he brings in live music, or he'll do an outdoor multi-vendor event. So it depends on the retailer. Some guys like a little cozier, where it's just with the regular shop event. But anything that we can think of that makes it a little more different. We do a lot more outdoor smoking out here. I know on the East Coast you have the winter. We don't have that here. It's the middle of January. I'm outside at 10:30 in the morning, and it's 65 degrees. So we can do barbecues. I've seen beach events, those kind of things that make it more interesting.
Yeah.
So that's what we try and do. You kind of talk to the retailer, see how much they're willing to kind of contribute. Some guys want to go big, so they'll put money into it and do something like maybe we'll go out on a yacht or something. You see those kind of things, and so creativity depends on the retailer.
Yeah, that's cool. Now, this is a question for you specifically. It has nothing to do.
Frozen here?
No, are you frozen? You good? All right. This is a question for you specifically.
My picture's frozen, but I'm good.
All right. Right. Okay. You specifically, not related to the company and whatnot. So the views do not express any AJ Fernandez or anything else like that. What do you want to see different other than the FDA? Because that's the big elephant in the room. What do you want to see different from the industry coming in 2019? Like, what are you most excited about? Did I lose you? You're thinking.
No, I'm still here.
Yep. Like what excites you?
No.
Because
I think it's continued innovation. I mean, what the new manufacturers are bringing in, the new guys coming into this industry is different takes on things, and we don't, it's creativity and innovation that gives us new products. At the end of the day, we're all cigar smokers, and we want to try things that are different and new. If it was just 10 cigars in the marketplace and one big company owned them all, where's the interesting part of our hobby? We are just like craft beer, we're just like Scotch, we're just like off whatever other product that we're similar to. Variety is the spice of life. So what's great about this industry is the new guys coming in is that it's bringing new concepts and new ideas, and whether we like them or not, those things are good for us, because that one of the biggest issues that we have in this business is bringing new smokers to the category, getting new people. The numbers, we're going slowly in terms of cigar sales. The numbers is good. We're rising. Yeah. However, I think we are shrinking in terms of number of cigar smokers. And guys are, what's interesting us is guys buy more cigars. Guys who are into it are really into it. Mm-hmm. So, that's always been a big question for us, is how do we bring new smokers? And this is why we love companies like Acid Drew Estate, because, they bring in a lot of guys, recruit the guys. That's, Macanudo when I work for General. Those cigars bring in people to the category. And, so anything that people look at and see is different, go, oh, this is different, I want to try it. And maybe that's their first cigar. Those things are great for us, because again, we need more smokers coming to the category. So I think, even though it makes retailers' jobs a little bit harder because there's so many things to choose from, innovation always, a new thing, things that are creative and different, always help us bring new smokers to the category.
Yeah, I think that is a phenomenal answer in regards to, kind of like what I would like to see as well, and I know that the FDA kind of limits a little bit of that creativity, but I think we're all different companies, from what I've seen, are kind of, waiting for that to, whatever that decision is, and whatever that decision turns out to be. But some of the creativity of some of the new stuff that's come out, or even the collaboration pieces there. One thing I got excited about in the end of 2017 going into 2018 was I thought there'd be a little bit more, I thought collaboration was going to be a bigger of a theme, right? And we've had a couple of blends, and AJ was in that mix as well, that kind of went out and did the collaboration. And I don't know, I kind of expected that to be some sort of a we're not going to worry about the FDA engine, but let's really come up with creativity and have it be a little bit bigger than what it was. And then it just kind of fizzled out, in my opinion, or from my experience, like with the collaboration stuff. So I was looking forward. So if you would ask me the question a year ago, I would say, oh, I'm looking forward to more collaboration. I think collaboration is a good thing. I think it brings brand awareness on both sides for whatever reason. Better position. It creates better noise for a product. Creates better noise for an industry. It creates more people to say, hey, we should consider doing that as well. It creates awesome content for consumers to either consume the story behind it or the product behind it there. But this year, I don't know. Like if you would ask me, like, hey, Joe, like, what do you think? What are you looking forward to 2019? Here we are, March 1st of 2019. I can't define that yet. Like, I literally can't define that yet to where, because the industry has changed so fast. Even though we talk about from when you started and how different your events are, it's really been a small amount of time frame.
You know? Let me see if I can answer your question in a couple of parts.
Please do.
The collaboration part of it is coming. It's actually surprisingly hard in this business to do that, because the way business has always been run is if you wanted to use, buy a cigar from somebody's factory, you just bought it, and say AJ would make it and you would sell it. But it wasn't really necessarily a collaboration. So, but as again, what I love about new guys coming to the market is, it's actually allowing the market to drive consumer demand versus, when I worked for General, they blended with the tobaccos they had. It was like, we're going to put this cigar out, and this is the way we do it. And it isn't necessarily connected 100% with, they've done a much better job recently with, Ricky Rodriguez, CAO. But, when they put out a new cigar, 6, 8, 10 years ago, it was a General cigar. It was medium body, because that's, tobaccos they had, and a lot of stuff basically the same. So now they're starting to realize, hey, maybe we can breathe new life into certain brands by letting new people work with it. So that concept is actually relatively new. And I have a cigar coming from AJ for you, actually. We're calling it the San Lotano Dominicano. It should be arriving in the next 60 to 90 days or so. It's a collaboration, a true collaboration between Hochi Blanco and AJ. AJ went down to Dominican, worked with with the Hochi, some of his tobaccos. Hochi's got his tobaccos in it as well. It's the first cigar Hochi actually put his name on. So there's a secondary band on this cigar that says AJ and Hochi. We debuted it at the Big Smoke, but it hasn't been released. Just so people get a chance to smoke it, and the response has been phenomenal. So, I hopefully that we can see that this process will be successful, and we'll see more of that, because I think it's an absolutely great idea. Everybody has concepts, and it can inspire your creativity when you get the chance to work with other people's tobaccos. But it hasn't been that way, very consistently previously. So, but it's coming, and I think that's absolutely correct. But we're an old business, so getting people to kind of change their concepts and change their ideas on how to do business is a little bit harder sometimes, and this is a relatively new concept. Prior to this, you can name the collaborations on one hand. Remember when Lito Gomez and Christian Aroa did their face off and a few other things, but it's always been, if you want my cigars, pay for it, we'll blend it for you. But now it's, hey, let's work together. Let's put up a dual branded thing. And I think AJ is really at the forefront of some of that.
And yet again, the universe has taught me a lesson that always comes up in my life, in and outside of Stogie Geeks. It's that Joe Hozempa or Joe Hollywood or the Lone Ranger, whichever the role you want me to fill, has to be patient. I'm not a patient person. I'm not, but no, you bring up a good point. Like, Joe, hey, it's a lot more complicated than you think to do a collaboration. And it's going to take a little bit more time. So you actually feel that we're going to be able to expect more collaborations.
Yes.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it.
And more at the craft level, because again, smaller companies are a little more agile. They're a little more open to kind of new concepts and seeing what's out there. I mean, again, that's what I mentioned, is that smaller and newer companies can be a little more creative, a little more adventurous in the things they're doing, and then that leads to. But again, it's the same thing with what AJ is doing with Altadis in general. 10, 15 years ago, General wouldn't do collaborations like that. But now, Altus has started to do it with Rafael Nodal a little bit. They're doing it with AJ, and so they're seeing the value in letting other people kind of work with them in their process, and it's been successful. So that's leading up. Those are big step forwards for our business.
Yep. So other than what you just said, anything new coming up from AJ that we could expect? IPCPR, I know we got a couple sticks in that mix.
Yeah, I mentioned it. Yeah. So I mentioned, and then the other thing we just put on the marketplace, it just came on at the end of last year, early part of this year, is AJ has produced his first Cameroon wrap cigar. So it's a New World Cameroon, and it's just starting to hit stores. It's actually priced aggressively, like the New World is. So for the Cameroon lovers, and it's not obviously because it's Nicaraguan blend. It's not your obvious Cameroon. There's a little more spice and a little more depth to the cigar. But it's absolutely, if you love Cameroon, it's got all the characteristics of classic Cameroon with a little more oomph to it. So I think we're going to do real well with that. The Dominicano as well, that's kind of the schedule. IPCPR is up in a bit in the air. I know there are concepts, and I don't want to mention anything that may or may not come, but obviously we're going to have new items. Another thing that we've got coming is, I don't know how familiar your geeks are about some of the previous brands that AJ had. So we, besides San Lotano and New World, when he first came out, he had a brand called Pinolero, and that's kind of a nickname for the Nicaraguan people. We've reintroduced it as 3-packs for events, so people get a chance to smoke it, and the reaction has been pretty positive. So there's a pretty good chance that this cigar may end up being a production cigar at IPCPR as well. So, what's old is new again.
No, I think that's great. Yeah, definitely. And
he's probably got some cards up his sleeve that I haven't been made aware of yet. But I know that usually there's always going to be 2 or 3 new cigars launched, and I'm pretty sure Pinolero will be one of them at IPCPR.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to the Cameroon. We just got that here, I would say 3 weeks ago or so, I know 2 shops here in Rhode Island that they actually have that. One of them I do frequent, so I will make that top of my list within a week to get down there and to actually try that. So, have you tried that? So it's a little bit spicier of a Cameroon, because I'm a fan of the Cameroon wrapper, like absolutely fan of it. I know here at Stogie Geeks, our producers really like some of the samples that we get from some of the Cameroons and stuff like that. Like it's a really neat blend to kind of get into for sure. What could the Stogie Geek consumer kind of expect if they try that cigar?
Yeah. So one of the things about Cameroon, at least in my opinion, is that it's one of those wrappers. Candela is the same way, where you really need to blend for it because it's delicate. If it's done right, it tends to be sweet. It has a floral nature to it. A little bit of notes of like green tea possibly. But if it's not blended properly, I get this bitter sourness to it. So, in AJ's case, it's a darker Cameroon. It's a very rich cigar. So that it blends really, really nicely. So you get that really light kind of floral nature of the Cameroon, but you get a little bit of Nicaraguan oomph to it. So it's a really nice pairing. And it's very well thought out in my mind. That blend is and he's bringing it to you at a $6 to $7 price point. So, you're getting a lot of value with that particular cigar. If you love Cameroon, even if you don't love Cameroon, I think the blend is very, very unique, and it has a lot. I'm a flavor guy. I'll choose flavor over strength, and I just love the complexity of that particular cigar. It has a lot of flavor, and like I said, it's got enough oomph for those guys who like a medium or maybe a little bit stronger cigar. So you get best of both worlds. You get that delicate Cameroon flavor, but you also get a little bit of oomph for your cigar. You get a little bit more complexity in the blend.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm a fan of Candela. Always have been, and enjoy it, but it's extremely delicate for sure. Worst thing you can do from experience is light up a Candela, anything, and golf with it, or be outdoors. Like if you're on a boat and the boat's moving, or you're fishing, it's a very delicate wrapper. And sometimes the consumer says, "Oh, well, it's not constructed well." No. It's just a delicate wrapper. So even if you're the type of smoker who bangs the cigar against the ashtray, as opposed to just take a finger and flick it off like that, it's very delicate. But if it's in a Robusto size or Lancero size, the flavor you get from the Candela or the Cameroon. Like you said, I go through phases. Sometimes I love strength. I like something to blow my socks off in strength. And other times, mostly in the morning, sometimes, or just sometimes, a palate shot or whatever. I want to try, I go for the taste. And I love when I like thoroughly get engulfed in the taste of anything. And usually it's a Skura. Lately for me, it's been a Skura wrapper or the Candela, of course, Cameroon type stuff for sure. It's definitely kind of like my go-to when I go to some of the flavor stuff.
I've told people for years, when recommending Baltic cigars specifically, it's like don't take Cameroon, Candela, or Connecticut out because the environmental conditions tend to be detrimental to those particularly thin wrappers. Take your Maduros out, your Corojos, your Habanos. Those will survive much better on a golf course because I know most golfers are. You take a putt, kind of toss the cigar under the green a little bit while you make that putt, then you pick it back up. You're leaving it on the side of the cart and stuff. So that can be very rough on a light wrapper. So so you go ahead and pick the stronger ciders out there. But like you're saying, Candela is one of my favorites. It's one of those wrappers I see that people either love or they hate. Because it's just a different flavor. And it's very delicate. A lot of guys sometimes think it's too mild, or they can't get over the green part. One of the things that Espinosa has done is we make a candela called wasabi, and what Eric has done is just put a little tip of habano leaf on top, where the rest is green. So for mouthfeel, you don't get that kind of candela flavor on your lips, but you get the rest of it, and it's very unique, and it's a stronger candela as well. So it's very, very unique, and it's been one of our popular cigars. So there's a lot of ways to do it to make it a little more modern. I think that's helped Candela enjoy a little resurgence. Same thing. You look at Roma, same way. They've got their Candelas are strong stickers that are very, very full-bodied palate. But the delicate nature of that wrapper comes through very well when he's blending it. So it has a little bit of renaissance, which I love, because I think more goes back to more variety is good for all of us. It brings more people into smoking cigars.
You've actually brought up a point that triggered my memory. I guess when I was starting to define like what I'm expecting for 2019, what I'm noticing is that a lot more Connecticut blends are shying away from a mild version of Connecticut. They're getting into what I've categorized in others as like complex Connecticut's. And I'm really starting to really get into more Connecticut's because of what they're blending it with, and enjoying that self journey for me as well, as to like, wow, like, there's a lot of Connecticut's out there that, even brand wise, right? Not mentioning any names, that I would typically just shy away from because, Connecticut, to be honest with you, was probably one of my last go-tos. I would go to, like I said, an Skura wrapper lately, or, definitely Cameroon, Candela, right? And go to those, and then go to some of the other stronger ones for sure that are on the more medium to full profile. But lately, I've been introduced either the future people who are going to host or interview or sponsors of the show or whichever, and I'm like, wow, you came out with a Connecticut well, because some of the small batches go to that medium right away. They go to the medium full, and then after they get some business metrics going and some traction, they go back to, I guess, the original roots, right? The original roots of the Connecticut. And what I'm noticing is that a lot of complex Connecticut's are coming out of that kind of draw, for sure.
And so that's absolutely correct. And what you're noticing is, statistically, Connecticut cigars are still the best-selling cigars in the marketplace. Most people, maybe not the geeks or the guys who are hanging around, just the educated palates, but the biggest chunk of business is primarily in Connecticut. However, the true mild Connecticut's are the big brands own it. Romeo, Zero Real, Macanudo, Davidoff, Fuente, they're Connecticut. So it's a little bit harder to compete. So what's happened is, the new manufacturers coming in and say, well, I like Connecticut. I want to have a Connecticut in my line. How do I spin it to make it more a Connecticut that's my style? And that's what you're seeing. a lot of Nicaraguan Connecticut's, a little more medium to full body stuff that, how do I get that balance? Because again, it's the same thing. You still want to be true to that wrapper, but how do I innovate? And so you're seeing it wrapped on different fillers. You're getting different takes on it, the more medium, the full body Connecticut. And that's great. Because again, now we have a Connecticut for the guys who want to smoke something a little bit stronger, a little bit more complex. And again, you're seeing it. Creativity is abound because everybody's Connecticut, especially now, coming out, phenomenal stuff.
Yeah.
And it allows us to kind of come back to a wrapper that maybe we normally shy away from if you have an educated palate. Because you're right, guys like to smoke things that are more in tune with their palate, so they get best of both worlds. It's the same concept of the AJ's camera, giving something classic in your spin.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything else you want to add to the mix? It's been an awesome educational component, not only for myself, self-exploratory for myself, but definitely for the Stogie Geeks listeners. Stogie Geeks, you can email me at joeh@stogiegeeks.com with any comments there, or you can comment up on the Facebook board. I will try to stay on top of the Facebook activity as much as I can. Easiest way to get a hold of me is joeh@stogiegeeks.com. Is there anything else you want to add, Tim, to the interview?
No, I just this, that I usually close this with most events that I do, and I've only learned in my time that there's really one truth. You've probably heard it. Smoke what you like, what you smoke. If you're okay with the price, and and you like it, that's why we make 1 million cigars. There's got to be something out there that you're gonna like. So if you find something, even if somebody's gonna say I don't like that, your palate is your palate. Smoke and enjoy it. That's why there's 1 million cigars out there for you to try. Keep smoking, keep trying it.
Yep. Absolutely. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I have an announcement to make. We have a contest going on, so make sure you still stay tuned. Tim, thank you very much for your time. I'll sure you will come back on Stogie Geeks and talk about your Pier 28 cigars, which I am fascinated to learn more about that as well. Thank you for appearing on Stogie Geeks. Stogie Geeks listeners, we're taking a quick break. I have an announcement to make right after this. Welcome back to episode 297 of Stogie Geeks. If you're just tuning in, you are way late. We just interviewed Tim Wong from AJ Fernandez-Cigars. You can check out that interview here on Facebook Live, or you can check that out via StogieGeeks.com. Now, Stogie Geeks, I have an announcement to make. We have a contest from our sponsor, Diamond Crown. Diamond Crown Cigars is giving away a Diamond Crown Humidor. So all you have to do is go to StogieGeeks.com. There's a banner right on top. You just click on that banner, enter the win, and away you go. You put your information in there, and you'll be able to enter to win. Our friends over at JC Newman and Diamond Crown are giving away a humidor. So make sure you go to StogieGeeks.com and register. The banner's up there. And if you want to learn, as we get some more information from our sponsor, Diamond Crown, all you have to do is go to StogieGeeks.com/Diamond Crown. Check out the page and give us your feedback. You can always email me at joeh@StogieGeeks.com. And good luck with the registrants. And away you go. We'll see you next time on Stogie Geeks. Thank you for tuning in. We're almost at episode 300. I'm getting excited.